All right, I'm back, and the chat room is back. And if you didn't see that test stream I did a few minutes before, I had the reason the chat room wasn't there the last couple of streams is because I was using an outdated version of Safari or Mac OS or something. So I had to download a new version, which I was kind of nervous about because the one I had worked fine, and I really didn't want to change it. And so far, this new version is slower than the old one, which is weird and annoying. But I was worried in the process of doing it that I might lose all my files because there was I don't know. I'm not very good with computers in general, so I didn't lose anything, thankfully, and the chat room is back. So let me know if you can hear my voice in the chat room, and then we'll get started. And we'll try not to go. I'll try to keep this one short because it's Saturday night. I wanted to do this earlier, but getting the everything squared away with the chat room took a lot longer than I thought. So sorry. You guys can hear me okay? This world nowhere means worse. Yeah, that is usually the case. Can you hear me loud and clear? Okay, good. And let me just clear that out. Okay. All right. Quick Impact review here. For all of you guys who decided to stay home on Saturday night to talk about wrestling with me. Okay, so the show starts off with them airing clips from last Friday's One Night Only pay-per-view. So, holy shit. Storyline continuity with One Night Only shows? What a concept. You know, that's so crazy it just might work. So, we're actually seeing storyline continuity with the EC3 Lashley, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards situation. Fantastic. You know, I never had much of motivation at all to watch the One Night Only shows. But here, they're actually trying to give people a reason to watch. Unbelievable. So, the show proper begins with EC3 coming out for a promo, and he talks about how the last couple times that he's challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship, things have gone horribly awry because Davey Richards has gotten involved, and it's led to some kind of shenanigans, and all he wants is a fair one-on-one shot for the title, and it just doesn't seem to happen for him. So he wants the Wolves to come out to get to the bottom of this, but Lashley comes out instead. And so Lashley says, hey, they got something in common here. They've both been screwed over because of the Wolves getting involved. And he decides that he wants a last man standing match for the number one contendership. And EC3 says, hey, let's not do it later. Let's do it right freaking now. So the match immediately begins. And I'm having trouble focusing on this because I'm still just in utter amazement that stuff that happened at the One Night Only shows is carrying over to the show. It seemed like such a simple idea. I don't understand why TNA never thought of this. That if you actually have connective tissue and stuff that carries over between One Night Only and Impact, people might have more of an incentive to actually buy these stupid pay-per-views. You know? Maybe this was an Ed Nordholm idea. Ed Nordholm, who is the new guy running Impact, Ed Nordholm from Anthem. So maybe this was his call. Who knows? Either way, good fucking idea. Something you should have been doing all along, TNA. So anywho, after the commercial break, we get to our last man standing match, EC3 and Lashley. Yeah, it's another good match. These guys have good matches. They got a good amount of time. EC3 speared Lashley through a table at one point, and they both went through tables on the floor at one point. It's a good match. It's very how do I say this? It's very even. You know, it's not one guy isn't too dominant over the other. You know, EC3 gets to put up a good fight, but Lashley gets up just a little bit quicker and beats the count. Okay, I'm not. Okay, if EC3 has to lose again, I guess it's okay that it's to Lashley, but at the same time, this whole dynamic surrounding the world title picture right now needs to be shaken up, because it's been Eddie and Lashley for a while, with EC3 kind of getting inserted there on and off. It's just been different variations of that for several months. I think it's high time that something got changed about this, because it's getting stale. Yeah, I mentioned this last week, but I mean, it just feels like it's getting dragged out for a long time now. It just, something needs to change about this. Like, insert somebody else, change it up a little bit. I don't know, but I'm getting kind of tired of seeing Lashley and Eddie Edwards. I feel bad saying that, because they have great matches, but it's kind of like the WWE formula, where you just see the same two guys wrestling each other over and over again until you just get sick of it. That's where they're getting to now. So we're gonna have another match with Lashley and Eddie at some point, and hopefully this is where something about this situation changes, because it's due for a change. So we go backstage. And they did something really questionable here, where they're having Eli Drake force a stagehand or a PA or something read a prepared message, a prepared statement by Eli Drake saying that the fans don't deserve the gift of Eli Drake's voice anymore. So right after they just did a thing where Eli Drake was forced to not cut promos. He was contractually obligated to not cut promos for the rest of the year. He couldn't talk for the rest of the year. And this was something he was not happy about. Suddenly that stipulation has been lifted in the new year, and now he's doing a thing where he's not talking. So a guy who got over with his promos, a guy whose heel promos were so entertaining that the crowd was starting to get behind him, that they were getting the dummy button over. So the writer's idea is to have him stop doing that. So he can't do all the stuff that was getting him over. You know, I'm reminded of a gimmick Angelina Love did several years ago. Back when they put her and Winter together, and she was doing the zombie gimmick, where she kind of walked around like and didn't talk, because she was like in this drugged out haze or something. And what baffled me about that was that, okay, you've got this woman who got over primarily with her mic skills, and you give her a gimmick where she doesn't talk. Not surprisingly, it crashed and burned. It's kind of the same thing here. Here is a guy whose promos were getting him very, very over, and now you're taking the promos away. So he doesn't talk anymore? Why would you want to do that? I guess I'll wait and see where it goes. But if what he's doing is working, why are you having him change it? You know, it doesn't make sense to me. Here's something else that didn't make sense to me. We cut back to the ring where Rockstar Spud is dressed up in some strange new getup. Didn't he quit last week? Yeah, that was the first thing that was weird about this. Spud quit last week, and now he's back. I'm glad he's back. I didn't want him to leave, but if he's back a week after he quits, you need to explain that. Why is he back? I don't know. He said he was done. And now he's back, and I think Josh Matthews mentioned that, didn't he quit last week or something? Yeah, he did. What's the deal with that? If he wasn't leaving, why did he say he was quitting? Beats me. If that was a way to re-gimmick him, okay, so be it. But there's a step missing here. Okay, what happened between last week and this week that convinced him to not only stay, but also re-gimmick himself? I don't know, but bottom line is, Spud is back. They're doing something with Rockstar Spud, which does not involve him jobbing to a baby and a little person, so I'll take it. But then he introduces Aaron Rex, the newly re-gimmicked Aaron Rex. So they're reintroducing Aaron Rex as this. I'm not sure how to describe this. It's like a. It's been described to me as a Versace type of thing, and wow, I'm the wrong person to comment on that. I know exactly nothing about all that stuff, but it's like some flamboyant, metrosexual male Lady Gaga thing. Okay. Look, this is a guy who excels at playing a character. He's proven that in the past. You give him a character, he'll find some way to get it over. He got over some really stupid character stuff in WWE, so he can do it. And I'm sure he'll throw himself into this. And apparently, this was his idea that he pitched to the creative team, and they let him run with it. So I'm sure he's really gonna work hard to sell this thing. My first impressions on it. This gimmick is not for me. It's just not my cup of tea. It really isn't. Was there something wrong with just doing like a different version of Damian Sandow? Like the cultured aristocrat, I don't know, maybe like a Fraser Crane type of thing. I don't know. This seems a little bit out there, and I don't know, personality wise, it's just not my thing. I'll wait and see what he does with it. But that's just my first impression. I'm not big on this. I love the guy. The gimmick is just it's not scratching me where I itch. And speaking of things that don't scratch me where I itch, Robbie E comes out. And he's a babyface, apparently. And he says, "Hey, Rex, this is really stupid." And then Rex destroys him. So many things wrong about this. Okay, you introduce a guy with a new heel gimmick, and then you bring out a babyface Robbie E for him to get heat off of. TNA. Nobody gives a fuck about Robbie E. Doesn't matter if he's a babyface, doesn't matter if he's a heel. No one cares about this idiot. You're not going to get heat off of Robbie fucking E. It just doesn't happen. I like seeing him get destroyed because he's a jackass, he's a piece of shit. But were you expecting that to get heat on Aaron Rex? Nobody cares about Robbie E. If you want Rex to beat up somebody, have him beat up someone that they actually care about. Look, I'll never complain about seeing Robbie E get beaten up because he's a jackass. But I don't see what was to be gained here, you know. Okay, so moving on, we go backstage to a DCC promo. Now, thankfully, they're talking for themselves now, and they're not talking through like a voice synthesizer or a computer or whatever. They're using their own voices. They take off the masks and they just speak normally, and it works. You know, thankfully, TNA realized that when they were talking through the voice synthesizer thing, it was just stupid. This works a lot better. And now, after quite a few weeks of this gimmick, we finally get some kind of explanation about what they're all about. They're three guys that nobody else wanted. Nobody wanted Kingston. Okay. Bram. Well, hey, the Decay left me for dead somewhere. So I teamed up with these guys to get revenge. And James Storm, well, we all know why he's pissed off. And suddenly, these three guys together make more sense. It's a really good promo. Now, unfortunately, the DCC haven't been booked so strongly recently, but it looks like they're trying to change that now. Alright, good. This was a good start. So we go to the Decay versus the DCC, and it's a chaotic match. Goes to a DQ, doesn't really have a finish. They start brawling all over the place. They go backstage, and then it just sort of stops. And, okay. I guess they're going to continue this feud, which makes sense. You know, Bram obviously wants to get payback on them, which I totally get. They put him in the trunk of a car, drove him off somewhere, and that was the last time we saw him. So, if it was me, I'd want some payback too. So, the feud makes sense. But if the Decay are going over, if the DCC are going over here, I worry that the Decay might not look so great. Hopefully maybe they'll separate Rosemary from that show so she's not involved, because I don't want her on the losing end of a feud, especially now that she's the Knockouts champ. But it's a good segment. The DCC are getting pushed more heavily now, which is nice. They need more tag teams, so that's good. So now we go to a pre-recorded sit-down interview with a returning Knockouts champion, which turns out to be Brooke. Hey, Brooke is back. This is fantastic. Brooke was my favorite Knockout back when she was there before. And of course, they dropped the ball on her a couple of times, which I was never happy about. But I mean, she looks like $1,000,000. She's got a lot of charisma. She's athletic. She can wrestle. This girl is the total package. And the fact that they hadn't used her well in the past was just kind of infuriating to me. But hey, she's back. Great. I'm not sure how they're going to fit her in, because they've got a pretty loaded Knockout roster right now. Of course, we just had one departure with Raquel, and I'm kind of expecting, some more departures in the not-too-distant future. So they are definitely making some changes to the Knockout roster. It's being revamped. So far for the better. That's good. Brooke did say that she wants to go after the Knockouts title sooner than later. That could be problematic, because Rosemary just won the damn thing recently. I want her to have a really long title reign, but if Brooke is going after the title, I don't want her to lose. So that's going to be an issue. I think maybe the best course of action would be to delay Brooke going after the title for a while. So to be continued on that, but just really thrilled to have Brooke back. I'm not so sure about this being a good way to reintroduce her, because on the one hand, you really want her to come back with a bang, and instead they just do it in a sit-down interview. There is something to be said with kind of delaying her in-ring return a little bit to kind of just hype her up, just to bring her back in like talking segments first. I guess that's a way to do it. I don't know. They had a chance to get that big pop when she returns as a surprise, maybe, even though this wasn't a live show. Probably how I would have done it, but it's a question of, where would you fit her in? Not really sure. Because there's no real storyline for her right now. You got Rosemary feuding with Jade, you got the Alley stuff. Not really sure how Brooke would fit in there. So maybe it was better doing it like this. I don't know. Just really happy to have Brooke back. That is a great thing. It's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So then we have Mike Bennett versus Braxton Sutter in a match. And Maria made this happen somehow as a way to punish Allie. Even though Maria supposedly doesn't have any booking power anymore, she still makes this match happen. I don't know how. But, yeah. So, following Allie and Braxton Sutter kind of not being together yet, but it's obvious that they kind of like each other, and it's making Laurel Van Ness a little upset. And, of course, Maria's not having any of this, so she wants to really get under Allie's skin, wants to really piss Allie off. So she somehow makes Mike Bennett versus Braxton Sutter happen. And the We Want Allie chants start up pretty quickly. Of course, she shows up. And Mike Bennett has Sutter on the ropes. He's about to hit his finisher, but he takes a little bit too long acknowledging Maria and Allie outside the ring, and Sutter gets the surprise pin on him, and that's a pretty big win to give a guy like that. So they must see something in him, or at least in this Allie storyline. And I'm concerned that Mike Bennett may be on the way out, because he's been doing some jobs lately. And a guy like that, who should be one of your biggest stars, who was one of your biggest breakout characters last year, you kind of want him to be booked stronger than this. And it's really strange, and goddamn, I hope they keep him. Because losing Mike Bennett, that would be a kick in the nuts. But yeah, Braxton Sutter gets the surprise win. So Allie is certainly happy about that. And I guess if Allie is happy, the crowd is happy? So I'm going to see where this goes for now. I really worry that they're going to lose Mike Bennett in the near future. I hope not. I hope that's not the case. Crossing my fingers on that. And of course, backstage, it's really funny because Mike and Maria have this segment backstage where they're kind of like, they're saying, oh, this 2017 was supposed to be our year. It was supposed to be the year of Mike and Maria, but it's not. And it's all because of Allie, goddammit. They're acting like Allie has single-handedly derailed the entire Kingdom of Miracles. All on her own. It's pretty funny, actually. They don't even mention Braxton Sutter there, I think. It's all Allie's fault. It's all Allie's fault! You know, Maria, and I guess to a lesser extent Mike Bennett, really deserve a lot of credit for how over Allie has gotten. I mean, Allie has held up her end wonderfully, but Maria especially has played such a huge part in getting Allie as over as she is. She has just sold the hell out of this. I heard, and apparently she wants to leave. I don't know. I heard maybe she changed her mind about that. I don't know, but man, losing either of these two would be a huge blow. And this whole Allie storyline with Maria has been worked out so well. And then we are back in the ring for a Rosemary promo. Now she's talking about being the Knockouts champion now, and that we are darkness and chaos made flesh, and blah blah blah, and all that good stuff. But she gets interrupted by Jade, who is not finished with Rosemary and wants another shot at the Knockouts championship. And after their steel cage match, I'm all for that. And Rosemary wants it to be a Monsters Ball this time, because God forbid they just have a regular match at some point. So Rosemary says, okay, let's do it, and she starts to leave, and then Rosemary attacks her, but Jade drives her off and clears the ring. You know, I don't like it when these feuds get too gimmick-happy too quickly. It seems like they have a bad habit of doing that, just kind of skipping step A, where all the normal matches take place, and then going right to step B, where they get into the big gimmick matches, like the Monsters Balls and the Steel Cage matches and the ladder matches and all that stuff. It's like, well, shouldn't they have had a regular match first at some point? I don't know. TNA do that too often. However, there is a certain novelty to having two women in a Monsters Ball. I don't think that's been done before. I mean, not without men being in there, too. I remember they had Taylor Wilde and Daphne in a Monsters Ball, but they had Abyss and Stevie Richards in there, too. This might be the first time it's just been two women. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. So there's a newness and a novelty to that. So that's cool. And it does kind of make sense for the Rosemary character to want that. So I'll roll with it. However, there was a problem with this segment, and it was Jade. I'm sorry to say, her promo here was just not very good. Now, she didn't stumble over her words, she got all the lines out, but her delivery was pretty subpar, I'm sorry to say. And that's bad for Jade, because Rosemary is one of the best talkers in the company, if not the entire industry. So when you're in a promo segment with Rosemary, you gotta be sure to bring your A game, or she's just gonna completely smoke your ass. And unfortunately for Jade, that's exactly what happened here. She just didn't come off looking very good on the mic. I think a lot of people underestimate just what a compelling magnetic presence Rosemary is on the microphone and as a character. So it's really easy for other people, when you put them next to her, to not come off looking very well, because she's just that much better than most other people when it comes to that stuff. And when this segment started, that crowd was chanting Rosemary's name. Rosemary! Rosemary! They were behind her, and I don't think Jade did anything to change their minds about that with her promo. She just didn't. Jade's a lot like Gail Kim in that she's always more of a wrestler than a character. And I'm not saying that everybody has to be a brilliant character, but if that's not what they're best at, then don't put them in situations that are going to shine a big spotlight on it, Don't put them face-to-face in the ring for a promo with one of the most charismatic performers on the entire roster and expect them to get the crowd to rally behind them instead. That's a big uphill battle. I mean, sure, Jade will be in her element once the match starts, but you didn't exactly do her any favors here. So, yeah, that was actually right before the main event, so hopefully they're going to be making a big deal out of that Monsters Ball match. I heard great things about it. But yeah, they put him really late in the show, so that's a good sign. So finally, main event time is a tag title match between the Hardys and the Wolves. And one thing that really surprised me about this is it was the weird lack of hype for it. I think there was like a backstage promo with the Hardys and with the Wolves, and that was it. And for a match as big as this, that was very strange. You know, I think we've seen this before. In fact, before Davey got injured. But I mean, it's the Wolves' first match in almost a year. Because Davey was out for most of 2016. And it's against the Hardys in the main event for the tag titles. And the tag team division that the Wolves dominated for quite a while. And the lack of fanfare was just very surprising to me. I don't know why they did that. If it was me, I'd hype this up for a little bit. Maybe announce it like 2 weeks in advance or something. So it was just very weird that they didn't really make a bigger deal out of that. The match is good. Probably not as good as you'd expect. And I'm not sure why. I thought maybe Davey was rusty or something. But apparently he had a match at the One Night Only show that was great. I didn't see the show, but I think I don't know. I heard he had a match on it. I don't know. I have to check that out. But anyway, for whatever reason, it's not a bad match, but kind of thought it would be more. You know, I don't know why. So it ends with the Wolves having a miscommunication. I guess they're setting up for their finisher, but then Eddie dives to the outside to attack Matt. And then Davey gets pinned. And so that's probably leading to a heel turn. Yeah, I really doubt they would have had Davey lose his first TV match back if they weren't setting up something with that. You know, he's not happy afterward about the miscommunication. So obviously there's going to be something there. No spoilers, but it seems likely that's where it's heading. I would like the Wolves to get another tag title, another run in the tag team division before they did something like this, but it's not like they have anything left to prove in that regard. Plus we haven't seen Davey versus Eddie in TNA yet, so that'll be cool. Although, if they plan on splitting up the Wolves at a time when the tag team division really needs tag teams, I hope they get a plan. Because the tag team division could really use the Wolves right now. So we'll see. I wouldn't call this a blowaway show or anything. I do think it was better than last week just because it felt like more was accomplished. We get another big return. We got some new gimmicks introduced, explanations for stuff that needed explaining, and some nice storyline progression. Not a perfect show, but at least it feels like we're making progress. It feels like things are happening here. So those were my thoughts on Impact, and holy crap, we got a lot of comments here. All right, so going to the chat room. Let's see. One show, and I already love Aaron Rex's new gimmick. Such a shame he has to feud with that worthless waste of space, also known as Robbie E. I don't know if that's a feud, really. If it were a feud, I don't know if they'd have Robbie just get obliterated like that. I certainly hope it's not a feud, because Jesus Christ. What a waste of time that would be. Okay, so that's one person who likes the new gimmick. Okay, maybe it's a personal preference thing, but I'm just not digging it right now. Maybe it'll grow on me later, but for now I'm like, yeah, this is not my kind of thing, you know? But if, hey, you like it? Okay, cool. Thoughts on TNA losing Mark Andrews? I'm not happy about it. I think Andrews was one of the most underutilized guys on the roster. And, I mean, he was impressive every time they used him. And it's like, really, a guy that good, you couldn't find something to do with him? It was just really disappointing. Plus, they finally just started pushing him. So he was finally getting somewhere, finally making progress, and then they lose him. It's really disappointing. And, I mean, if they never had any real, like, big plans for the guy, I don't know why they had him win British Boot Camp 2. And I thought he was a good choice to win, but if this is all they were going to do with him for, like, 2 years, then Kaylee Ray should have won. Kaylee Ray should have won British Boot Camp 2. She was always my pick to win. I always wanted her to win. I wasn't down on Mark Andrews winning because he was a talented guy. But then they just didn't use him. They didn't do a damn thing with the guy. So I don't blame him for leaving. I'm not happy about it, but I understand. Let's see. Rex is also definitely in better shape than he was last year. Well, yeah, because it's a new set of TV tapings now. So we had several months in between the last set and this set in which to get in shape. Because remember, when he got released from WWE, he didn't plan on wrestling anymore. He thought he was done for a while. So he probably wasn't, keeping up with his training regimen. So when TNA got in touch with him, that he said this in interviews, he was kind of surprised. Because he didn't expect that to happen. So now that he's back wrestling on TV, he's getting back into training. Because they had to tape a whole bunch of TV all at once before he probably got back into the swing of things. So now he's had a couple months to get back in the gym. So yeah, I'm not surprised he's looking better. The devil whispered in my ear, "You can't handle the storm." I whispered in the devil's ear, "I am the storm." James Storm 2017. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Is it too soon to call Rosemary the female Undertaker? No. I think a lot of people have been calling her that. By all rights, that's what they should be portraying her as. Rex's promo was also much longer on the Fight Network version. He was talking about how Rexcellent he is, and then he made a joke about suing a guy for Rexual harassment. Okay, that's a good line. They should have kept that in. Can anyone give me one solid reason why I should watch TNA now? Yeah, Dixie Carter is gone. And the company is now being run by a guy who, from everything I've heard so far, seems to actually know what he's doing. And he's listening to the right people. And Don West is back. Brooke is back. And Rosemary is awesome. And now he's getting over like $1 million. There are actually quite a few reasons to watch the show now. Let's see. Who are the heels in the DCC Decay feud? Well, in my opinion, it's heels versus tweeners. I feel like the Decay have always kind of been tweeners. Of course, Bram has very justifiable reasons to want revenge on the Decay, so it's kind of a gray area. So you'd think Bram's team would be the baby faces, but they're really not. They're actually coming off as more heelish than the Decay, so who are the heels and who are the faces beats me. Let's see. Why would you do an impromptu last man standing match with not even a minute's build? Yeah. I think they advertised it on social media. They put out a graphic for it, but yeah, it's. I don't know why they do that stuff. Maybe I've just gotten desensitized to it now. But, or maybe it's because, Lashley and EC3 have had a number of normal matches now, so I guess it it's all right that they did a last man standing match. I do think they really need to promote these things better. So that was one thing you could hold against it. Is it bad that I like Aaron Ricks' new gimmick? No, it's not bad. Like I said, it's not my cup of tea, but other people might feel differently. This is, this is going to be a personal preference thing. It's not everybody is going to be on board with it. I'm not into it yet, but other people might be. Let's see. As Hardys versus Wolves was a very good match, but totally unspectacular considering this was their first match together in years. Yeah, it's kind of how I felt. It was a good match, it's just probably not as good as you might expect. Yeah. Not to say it was bad, though. TNA taking away one of the one thing that got Eli Drake over is so WCW of them reminds me of the West Texas Rednecks. The West Texas Rednecks actually kind of got over. I remember they were they were feuding with like Master P's No Limit Soldiers or something, and the West Texas Rednecks were supposed to be the heels, but they were getting over as the faces. That's about all I remember about him, though. The worst thing about the new Eli Drake is that he's associated with Tyrus. Oh, don't get me started on that, man. Why? I guess Tyrus has this gig on like a morning news segment or something. So I guess they want to use him in some capacity. It just I don't know why. Why bother? The guy is fucking terrible. I'm not feeling the idea of Davey Richards turning heel. Yeah, I'm hot and cold on that too. It doesn't seem, it seems very un-Davey-like that he would turn on Eddie like that. If that is indeed where they're going. Again, no spoilers here. But, I don't know, they might be able to make it work. Who knows? I still think there's more mileage left in the Wolves as a tag team, though, especially right now. At the very least, you could have them put over some other teams. You could have them put over the Decay, put over the DCC. Let's see. I hope Allie and Braxton beat the shit out of Mike and Maria. I hope Allie beats the shit out of Maria. I think Mike Bennett needs to be protected a little bit more. I like Robbie E. Why do you hate him so much? He got much better since then. I disagree. I've never thought this guy was any good. His matches got better when he started working a babyface ring style, but he's still not great. He's still not anything special. And character-wise, the guy's annoying as hell. He's always been annoying as hell. The gimmick is a fucking crowd killer. And what baffles me is that he's been there for years now, and he seems to have no desire or no inclination to change the gimmick to something better. It's like, dude, what you're doing is not fucking working. And it's like he just doesn't get it or doesn't care. That's why I hate him. The guy sucks. Eddie Kingston needs more mic time. He was talking only for a couple seconds, but he still managed to impress me. Yeah, that's probably Eddie Kingston's biggest selling point. The guy is great on the mic. Hopefully, I hope he does get more mic time. I don't know if he will, but the Decay are all great on the mic, so you get the potential for some really great promos here. So, yeah, let Kingston talk more. You're not the only one. I'm very uncomfortable about the new Aaron Ricks gimmick too. All right, so there's another check against it. I feel like this gimmick is going to be very divisive. We'll see. Can't wait for the Rosemary versus Jade match. Yeah, me too. I heard that was a pretty insane match. Let's see. Good stuff. Hardy's lose Raquel, but pick up Brooke. I'll take that. Yeah, I think everyone will. Yeah, Raquel's no big loss. Or, she's not any loss at all, let's be honest. Like, Davey's about to retire. A heel run will kill my interest in him. Lita retired as a heel, which is a bad idea 11 years ago. Yeah, I don't... It's like, if this is his last year, I don't want to boo the guy. It just seems like an odd way to go out, you know? Not sure why they're doing it this way. Aaron Rex elbowing Robbie E a zillion times in his head was great. Yeah. But it made me want to like Aaron Rex, which is not the point. We're supposed to boo the guy. That's the problem when you put Robbie E out there as a face and expect a heel to get heat off him. It doesn't work that way. I want to know who approved of Rex having flesh-colored tights. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, that was hard to look at, wasn't it? I can see why that might make people a little uncomfortable. Flesh-colored tights on a dude, huh? Okay. You know, Madison Rayne was wearing flesh-colored tights for a while, but you know, at least that's nice to look at. Rex, that's... Well, I guess it might do it for some people. It doesn't really do anything for me. But, you know, to each their own. Your thoughts on Don West returning? Great move. Apparently, they need... Ed Nordholm, the new guy in charge, wanted to liquidate a lot of the merch they had in stock, and Jeff Jarrett suggested Don West, so they brought Don West back. I hope he's there for the long haul. I hope he's not just there for that, because their merch took a huge hit when Don West left a couple of years ago, and that's a loss that's never really been fixed. You know, that hole has never been filled. I don't know who was running the merch in the meantime since then, but it's just not the same. I guarantee you, if Don West had been there last year, they would never have had to outsource their merch to Pro Wrestling Tees. It wouldn't have happened. Don West is a fucking genius when it comes to that stuff. So I'm very happy to have Don West back. Let's see. You see, now that Brooke is back, it makes me think the reason she left was because of the pregnancy. Well, she said in the interview that she left because she wanted to start a family. I think there was probably a little more to it than that. Because, I mean, her title reign got cut off really abruptly. Like, she has the Knockouts title for like a month. After there's a lot of build-up to her getting it back, and then Gail just wins it from out of nowhere. It's like if she was leaving, why put the title on her at all? I feel like there were probably a number of motivating factors there. Maybe she wanted to have a family, but I'm sure there were probably other reasons on top of that, because there was... And that whole situation always seemed really sketchy to me. What do you think about Deadpool getting legit awards nominations? It's really funny to me. I said this during the Golden Globes. It's like, Deadpool is in the same awards category as Florence Foster Jenkins. How does that happen? You know? But hey, it was a really funny movie, so it's going to be in the comedy category. Oh, boy. It was just really fun. It was just really strange how that worked out. Robbie E can't even act as a face. No, he can't. He doesn't change his behavior between face and heel. He's an irritating jackass either way. He just acts exactly the same. And that's just one of the problems with this guy. Now with Allie and Brooke, the face side just got better. Yeah, yeah. I suspect Gail Kim may actually end up turning heel, too. Though not maybe that might not have been their intention, but I think it's what may end up happening. You know, I didn't see the One Night Only show, but I watched the women's segment, and how Gail Kim starts off the segment saying that, my career is over when I say it's over, and I'm coming back for my title, Rosemary. And okay, so it's like, well, remember a couple months ago when I said that Jade was the future of the Knockouts? Well, fuck that noise, because I'm coming back for my title. And she's really angry at Rosemary for some reason, even though Rosemary had nothing to do with her getting injured. Yeah, they even said that Rosemary. It was said on commentary during the match, Rosemary ruined Gail's moment. No, she didn't. She didn't ruin her Hall of Fame induction. She didn't ruin her title win. Gail, they already said that Gail was injured during the match with Maria. Rosemary had nothing to do with that. Okay, she interrupted the segment when Gail was talking up Jade or anything, but the damage had already been done at that point. So I don't know why Gail was so pissed off at Rosemary. Then Rosemary comes out and she gets in Gail's face like, "You'll never wrestle again," and Gail gets pissed off. And by the end of the match, the crowd is chanting Rosemary's name. And this again. It's the same deal as the promo exchange with Jade during this show. Rosemary is just way more charismatic than these two. And Gail, she's trying to sound like fiery and determined, but really she just comes off as petulant and bitter. And even though Rosemary is kind of sort of playing the villain, she still comes off as more likable than Gail does. In part because Gail she's kind of a liar. The last time we saw her on the show, she was like, "Guys, Jade is the future. Jade is really, really important to the knockout division. She's going to be the one to carry that ball in the future." And now Gail is like, it's like what she said back then didn't matter. It's like, "No, I'm coming back for my title, Rosemary. That's my title." Okay, well, if you were serious about what you said about Jade, shouldn't you be out here to support Jade and talk her up and tell everybody to rally behind her? No, she's talking about herself again. That's why I didn't really buy it when Gail said those things about Jade, because it just sounded completely disingenuous, and it was. Gail didn't really mean it, and you could tell. So even as a heel, Rosemary just has more charm and charisma, and she just seems more likable, even though she's playing the bad guy. I feel like even if it's not the plan, Rosemary may kind of sort of accidentally turn face here. Because if it's a battle of promos, Rosemary's always going to come off more likable than Gail does. So I feel like the crowd may end up rallying behind her, even if it's not what the writers intended. That's what happened in the match with Sienna. Okay. How's your Saturday night going? Pretty good. I dodged a bullet there earlier. I was afraid I was going to lose all the files on my computer, but it didn't turn out that way. Everything appears to be working fine. Although this new OS is kind of slower than the one I was using before. That's kind of annoying. But at least all my files are intact, so that's good. And Davey was going nuts at the end of the match, so clearly a heel turn. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I really don't want to boo the guy if this is his last year. But we'll see. Mike Bennett can stay, but Maria can go. I can't stand her. Besides, she needs to focus on getting her bachelor's degree. I think you're not giving Maria enough credit. Believe me, if this was a year ago, I'd be saying the same thing. But Maria has more than proven herself. I think she's been a brilliant character for the last year. One of the best talkers on the show. She's helped get a lot of people over. Like I said, Allie would not be nearly as over as she is were it not for Maria. I think, look, give her the credit she's earned, man. Seriously. I think people underestimate just how valuable a player Maria has been. Thank goodness it was Brooke that returned and not Angelina or Velvet Sky. You know, Bubba Ray Dudley is saying that he'd like to return. He'd like to come back. And if that happened, they'd want to bring Velvet back too. Because that's the thing now. That if a wrestler has a wife or a girlfriend, TNA seem to feel obligated to bring that person in too. Again, please don't bring Velvet back. Please don't. Oh, God. And you know what? After some of the things he said about the company after he left, I've got no real desire to see Bubba Ray Dudley back either. He was awesome as Bully Ray, but he talked a lot of shit about them after he left, and I'm not really big on the guy anymore. #karma. Could Sienna match Rosemary on the mic? Possibly. I think, let me think. If there's one knockout that could match Rosemary on the mic, it might be Sienna. Actually, I'm gonna give 3 options here. There's Maria, there's Sienna, and there's Allie. I say that, based on all the promos we've seen from the Courtney Rush Cherry Bomb feud on the Indies. Cherry Bomb is very underrated on the microphone too. And of course Maria, she's cut some awesome promos this year. And Sienna, even though she hasn't been allowed to talk very much, she can cut an awesome promo too. I think she's probably one of the best female talkers out there right now. So yeah, if anyone could match Rosemary in the mic, I think Sienna is one of the girls who could do it. So yeah. Thoughts on the new logo? I am not a fan of that fucking owl. Okay, the logo itself is okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's okay. But just take out the damn owl. Or if you gotta have an owl in there, make it look cool at least. You know what it looks like? This looks like the logo of a pro wrestling pinball game. It doesn't look like the logo of a wrestling show. It looks just kind of cheap and gaudy. I think there was somebody, and you go to tnasylum.net, one of the chat rooms, I forget which one, one of the comment sections, some poster just put up a graphic for a new logo that he made by himself, and it looked better than the Anthem Impact logo. That's how cheap it is. So I'm not a fan of it, really. Aaron Rex is approaching Becky Lynch levels of puns. That's not really a bad thing. I think Becky Lynch is adorable with those puns. Imagine how loud cheers Allie and Brooke would get if they teamed up. Yeah. I think that needs to happen at some point. Let's see. Thoughts on the rumor about TNA signing Josh Barnett? If it were to happen, I don't think it would be as a full-time performer. Probably one of those special attraction type deals. I guess it would depend how they use him. They've tried this before and it hasn't really worked out. Reference Tito Ortiz. Reference Rampage. That really didn't go anywhere. I guess it would depend how they use him. But hey, it's a publicity stunt, and God knows they could use a publicity stunt right now. Let's see. Did you watch the Omega Okada match that was rated 6 stars? I haven't seen it yet. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I want to, though. I've heard great things about it. When should Allie versus Rosemary happen? I've said this many times before. It should happen at Bound for Glory. Alright, if I'm booking the Knockouts, this is what I'm doing. I want Rosemary to hold that title until Bound for Glory. Okay, they've got enough girls that they could do it. If they're careful, if they do it right, they can make it work. Because they're coming off, 2016 was a bad year for the Knockouts Championship. A lot of hot potato, a lot of meaningless title reigns. It just wasn't a good year. It just wasn't. Right now, they need to reestablish the credibility of that title with a good, strong, long-term champion. That is fucking Rosemary. It's her. They've got to do it, and they've got to do it now. So I want Rosemary to hold that title all year. Obviously that the feud with Gail is going to happen at some point. They're teasing that already. So, have her defend it against, Gail at Lockdown or something. Maybe Brooke at Slammiversary. And then build up to the Bound for Glory match where after she's gone through all these former champions to finally defend it against, the newbie, the up-and-comer, the underdog in Allie, who's got to be the most over babyface on the Knockout roster by a mile right now. I think it just makes sense. And that is when you finally can pull the trigger on the Courtney Rush Cherry Bomb feud that I've said over and over is the best feud in women's wrestling on the indies. It's the best feud. And those two, when you put them together, those two know how to sell a feud better than just about anyone else I've seen in wrestling right now. It's got to be right time, right place. It can't happen before then. But I think right time, right place, if they do their jobs right and if they build up these characters the right way, it would be at Bound for Glory 2017. And I don't want to see any bullshit about them putting Gail Kim in the match just because they think they have to be in there. No, that's stupid. If you want Gail on the card for Bound for Glory, you put her in a separate match. This needs to be Rosemary versus Allie, one-on-one for the Knockouts title at Bound for Glory. I'm not going to bend on this. That's what I want to see. Anthem Impact Wrestling. What do you think about this as a new name for the company? Is that a thing? Is that what they're going with? There are worse names, I guess. What do you say about Enzo Amore? What do I say about Enzo Amore? Hashtag counterfeit G. That's what I say about Enzo Amore. Yeah, the guy who every single week he comes out there proclaiming that he's a certified G. Well, where's that G certificate? I haven't seen one. I've challenged him to produce a G certificate, but no, he won't do it. Nothing about his story adds up. Nothing at all. And he says over and over that you can't teach that, but then he says that he has a degree from Certified G University. Well, he contradicted himself right there. If you can't teach that, then why is there a college for it? You know? No, nothing about his story adds up at all. Hashtag counterfeit G, goddammit. Why is Robbie on TV? Are people supposed to root for him or something? Good question. I don't have an answer to that. Becky versus Pineapple Can feud of the year in 2016. Becky should face a can of pineapple at WrestleMania, damn it. I saw that video. That was hilarious. She's doing this fucking live stream for like 15 minutes trying to get a can of pineapple open because she can't work the can opener. It's pretty funny stuff. I felt bad for her, but she was just kind of adorable trying to get that thing to work. I'm surprised they haven't referenced that on the show, actually. Or maybe they have, because, I don't know, I'm not watching SmackDown. Yeah, Jared and Mantell were not booking shows during the tapings. And not necessarily, yeah. Of course, the next TV tapings, that might change. Who should Brooke feud with? Well, can't be Rosemary yet. I guess Maria and Laurel, they're still occupied with Allie. Well, Sienna's not really doing anything. I think Brooke versus Sienna, that could work. Thoughts on Ronda's 42nd fight? Well, I was kind of expecting Amanda Nunes to win. Didn't know it would be that quick. I think Ronda's probably done. I mean, she took that first loss to Holly Holm so badly. And it kind of looked like it broke her soul for a while there. So I was kind of surprised that she came back at all. After this loss, no, I think she's probably just going to go off and make movies now. I would not expect her to fight again. Let's see. Happy Gail wasn't on TV. She really drags down the knockout segments. You know, I wouldn't say she drags down the knockout segments. I think the problem is that the knockout segments are always about her when she's there. And I mean, I've been saying this for years now. The constant focus on Gail has become detrimental to the rest of the division. Because when Gail's there, the knockout division is the Gail Kim show. And look at all the progress that's being made since Gail has been on the shelf. We've got a great, compelling new champion in a fresh feud for the title. We've got Allie becoming the next big breakout babyface. We got Brooke coming back. We've got a lot of positive things happening here. We got a lot of steps forward being taken. And I guarantee you, a lot of the knockouts being featured on the show right now would not be getting featured if Gail was still there. Because when Gail is there, like 80 to 90% of the focus is on her. And it's at this point, it's like, well, what the hell else can she do? She's had several very lengthy title reigns. I mean, she's pretty much buried just about everybody. What else is there to do? Well, she could help the other girls get over by putting them over, but Gail doesn't like doing that. So if she's not going to do that, then what's the point of her sticking around? You know? Hey, look, I like and respect Gail Kim, but at some point you just got to give the ball to somebody else. And when it comes to Gail Kim, for some reason, that just never seems to happen. So if her getting injured and going on the shelf was the only way for this to happen, for the other girls to get the spotlight, I hate to say it, I don't want to sound like an asshole here, but I'm in no hurry for Gail to come back. Let's see. They have to do that with Eli Drake since the crowd is getting behind him and with Tyra speaking for heel heat. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it does seem like kind of a Vince McMahon thing to do. Like, if a guy is getting over in a way that was not intended, then, the Vince McMahon course of action will be to just go in the opposite direction to spite the fans. Like, people shit all over Roman Reigns. He's probably the most over heel on Raw, except he's a babyface. Which is Vince just giving a big FU to the fans for not accepting Reigns as a face. See, the smart thing would be to turn Reigns heel, but Vince doesn't do that because he's just a really spiteful individual. It's like, oh, you didn't accept Reigns as a face? Well, I'm going to keep him as a face and choke on that, assholes. Whether you like it or not. It just, okay, so if people are getting behind Eli Drake, maybe turn him face. I'm not saying it would work, but that seems to be the way the wind was blowing. Now they're doing this thing where he's gonna purposely withhold his promos and the dummy button just when people were really getting behind that stuff. It just seems like they're going against the grain with it. Tyrus is a Fox News correspondent for one of their shows. Okay. So here's a crazy idea. Give him a news correspondent type of gimmick. Like maybe he pops up in the corner of a screen to comment on stuff. Or give him like a talking segment where he's playing like a news anchor or something where he comments on stuff. Why are you putting him with Eli Drake, who is the last guy who needs a toady speaking for him like this? Let's see. Will the Bucks of Youth show up in TNA, or are the Hardys going to the honorable wrestling? Plus, did you see the video of Matt Hardy at Final Battle? I doubt the Bucks of Youth will show up. I think it's more likely the Hardys will just go over there. I saw the video of Matt Hardy at Final Battle. I heard all the delete, delete, delete chants in ROH, and good lord. Those are the fans that usually chant fuck TNA. So, good job, Matt. Yeah, I saw the video. I also saw the video of the Young Bucks super kicking Vanguard 1. Funny stuff. Grado is more likable than Robbie E. Yeah, pretty much. And I can't stand Grado. But I'll say he's less hateable than Robbie E, at least. At least Grado has a fan base, yeah. Let's see. Alright, I'm kind of skipping over some of these because I don't want to be redundant. Do you consider MMA art? I think it's an art form. It's just apparently not one that Meryl Streep respects. I don't know why she had to throw out that dig at MMA and football during her acceptance speech at the Golden Globes. Hey, if you want to trash Donald Trump, be my guest. I don't like him either. But why the dig at MMA? Okay, maybe it's not the same as acting or filmmaking, but it's I think it could be considered an art form. Yeah. Let's see. If there's an Alley versus Brooke match, who gets the bigger reaction? Tough to say. Tough to say. I think the crowd might be confused as to who to cheer for. I suspect it would be pretty evenly split. Let's see. No one should beat Rosemary until she gets a feud with Alley. Agreed. Agreed. Robbie E is the same character, face or heel. Exactly. What did you think when Gail responded to you on Twitter? Thought it was funny. She said... she was talking about Laurel Van Ness. It says, "Oh, your dress was okay. I guess that's the only thing about you worth talking about." I said, "Okay." Well, it was if by okay you mean hot enough to melt the TV, then yeah, she was pretty okay. And she's like, "Don't encourage her." I was like, "Oh, come on, the new girls need encouragement." You know, it was funny. Where's the X Division? Well, I suspect if Mandrews was still there, they might have done something with the X Division, but I guess the plan was to have him challenge for the X title. Now he's not there anymore, so they got to come up with a backup plan. Do you think Madison Rayne has surpassed Velvet in wrestling skill? I think she surpassed Velvet in wrestling skill a long time ago. And I say that having not always been a big fan of Madison as a wrestler. You got my longtime viewers know that. I don't have a problem with her these days. I'm fine with Madison now, but I mean, even at her worst, Madison was probably still better than Velvet. Let's be honest, Velvet set the bar pretty low. Gail has always been a heel. She ruined both Jade and Sienna's title reigns and hasn't put over anybody. If it wasn't for Rosemary and Allie, the division would be unwatchable. Well, just to elaborate on that, well, if you were watching last year, you know that wasn't a great year for the Knockouts, because man, that the Gail Kim Maria feud, it was well built, it was well constructed, but it went on too long. It passed the point of it passed its natural endpoint. I think originally it was supposed to conclude at Slammiversary, then Maria got injured, so they dragged it out until Bound for Glory. In the meantime, you got Jade as the Knockouts champion, who won the title and then just got thrown into the back seat. It's like they forgot about her. They didn't do anything with her with the title. Then Sienna won it, and they proceeded to do the exact same thing. It's like both of them had just meaningless title reigns because all the focus was on Gail and Maria. For what payoff? It's like there was no payoff. The payoff was Gail wins the title and beats Maria. What was accomplished there? Nothing. I was on board with the feud as long as it ended at Slammiversary because, like I said, it was well written and well built, and they managed to build up a surprising amount of heat when the two had barely touched each other, and that's a pretty rare thing in wrestling. So I was on board with it until then, but then they just dragged it out for months longer than it should have been. In the meantime, all the other girls are getting ignored, and the title situation is a fucking mess. And it just turned out to be really detrimental. I think a lot of the other girls got hurt and had their title runs just turn out really badly in order for, Gail Kim to get glorified again. It's like, well, hey, give her all the respect in the world, but did she really need to get glorified anymore? Isn't it kind of more important that we start building up the rest of the division and all these newer girls? But no, it's like TNA just can't help themselves when it comes to Gail Kim. At this point, I mean, if I'm Gail Kim, I gotta go to the writers and say, guys, I don't need this. Okay, take all this screen time you're giving to me and give the other girls some love. Give them some attention. Look, I don't mind putting over some people. I don't mind you giving back to a company that's given me so much. I'm starting to feel really resentful of Gail Kim because she's not doing that. Because someone in her position who has enough clout in the company, who could probably convince them to do that if she would just go to them and tell them what the situation is, she should be doing that, and she's not. I don't think any knockout not named Gail Kim will have a long title reign. Well, there is a precedent for that. Taryn Terrell had a long title reign. Of course, she's gone now. I found it funny that Stephanie made fun of CM Punk's loss, but she still wants Ronda Rousey in WWE. Yeah, there's a bit of a double standard there, isn't there? Let's see. Thoughts on Alexis Nevaeh? I'm not terribly familiar with her. I know she's Eddie's wife. Beyond that, I've never really seen her in a ring. I heard she's good, from people in the comments section at the asylum. Or was it Diva Dirt? I don't know. It was some comments section. But yeah, I'm just not very familiar with her. They're so obsessed with not making Gale look weak, which in return makes the new talent look weak. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they make Gale out to be so untouchable that everybody else suffers for it. Even in the rare occasions when somebody does actually get to pin Gale, she's so protected that there's no they can't glean any heat off it. It always comes off like a fluke. It always happens like Gale is about to win the match, and then there's some interference happening, and then the other girl gets like a fluke pin. And then it's like it's never mentioned again, or it's completely invalidated when Gale beats that girl in a handicap match later on or something. It's just, it's like nobody can get over on her, really. Not in any meaningful way. And there's just no point in making Gale out to be indestructible anymore. There's not. She's teasing retirement now. It's far more important that you get the rest of the girls ready to be able to carry the ball after she leaves. Is it really Gale's choice to win all the time? Not necessarily. It's the writer's choice. It's management's choice to have her always be as untouchable as she is. But I think it's Gale's choice to not throw out a dissenting opinion. I think it's Gale's choice to not go to the writers and tell them that she doesn't mind putting people over, that she doesn't mind really helping out some of the other girls, helping build them up. I just think that for someone who cares about for someone who claims to care about the the health and the safety and the future of the knockout division as much as she does, she might want to do something like that, because she has to know that her continuing to be at the forefront of everything, continuing to have all the spotlight all the time, is just not a good thing anymore. She has to know that. And if she does, she's not doing anything to change that. You don't really hear bad things about her from female wrestlers. It doesn't necessarily mean she's all 100% altruistic. I wrote a column a while back titled "Gail Kim Isn't the Hero, She's the Villain," where I talked about that in great detail, about that topic. If you go to my blog, tnathreshold.blogspot.com, and go to the hit the straight shooting link, it should be under there. I talked all about that. Let's see. Maria's the only knockout on the roster besides Brooke that Gale put over. Well, and technically she did put over Sienna, but they came off like fluke pins, and then she beat Sienna in a handicap match later. Technically she did put over Rosemary, but it was only thanks to interference from Crazy Steve and Maria after it looked like Gale was closing in on a victory. So like I said, even when somebody does beat Gale, it really doesn't mean anything. Yeah, and after Rosemary got the win, the match was never mentioned again. So it's like, yeah, she beat Gale, but now it's like that never happened. Boy. Who is worse, Lacey or Raquel? Oh, Lacey. Easily. Not that Raquel was particularly good, she's not. But Lacey was worse. Let's see. The Knockouts should have more wrestling this year. Storytelling is fine, but we rarely saw Rosemary and Ali wrestle. Yeah, and now they're like the two biggest characters on the Knockout roster. Yeah, we didn't see them wrestle very much, but that was by design. Yeah, they were able to focus on getting their characters over first, and now when they get in the ring, people really care about them. I would have preferred we saw them wrestle more, but I can't say that the direction they chose to go in with those two didn't work, because it worked great. TNA has had so many female wrestlers from Canada. How did they miss Jennifer Blake? Beats the hell out of me. Maybe there was some kind of conflict because she was wrestling for AAA for a number of years. As I understand it, she doesn't work for AAA anymore. Of course, they got a pretty full Knockout roster right now. But hey, if they're making changes to the roster, they're looking to bring in somebody else. Why the hell not bring in Jennifer Blake? She's great. I mean, she's one of those girls where it's like, why the hell is that girl not signed somewhere? I don't get it. Thoughts on Heidi Lovelace? I don't really have any. Never thought much of her. I always kind of thought she was overrated, honestly. Plus, I just never liked her look or her gimmick. The punk rock ragdoll thing. It always just came off really cheesy to me. I'm just not a fan. Thoughts on Kimberly joining WWE? Kind of wish TNA would get her, but she's a talented person. I'm happy for her. Gail needs a non-title feud. No, Gail just needs to stay away for a while. Yeah, Gail just needs to kind of stay off TV, let the newer girls have a spotlight for a while, and if and when she comes back, then give her a non-title feud where they an up-and-comer and help that person get over. Give that person a rub. Don't just beat everybody like Gail always does. Gail's got to start helping the other girls get over instead of just keeping them from getting over to, in order to put herself over. She's got to stop doing that. Favorite MMA fighter? Don't really have one right now. Once upon a time, it would have been Clay Guida, I guess. I don't know if he's still fighting, though. I don't know. Conor McGregor? Possibly. I don't know. Yeah, buy or sell AJ Lee or Rosemary? Does it have to be one or the other? I guess I'd buy both of them. Wasn't always a huge... I think they got a little too cutesy-poo with AJ Lee's gimmick for a long time. Wasn't always a fan of what they did with her. Just kind of got a little stupid, as WWE gimmicks tend to do. So I'd take Rosemary first. Of course, I'd probably be stupid to sell AJ, because, he's one of the biggest female stars in the last couple of years, if not the biggest. And I guess that is going to do it for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. We went on a little bit longer than I thought we would. Okay, so the chat room is back. And hopefully this new OS on my computer doesn't give me any problems. But I don't anticipate any problems, because this went off pretty well. Things are working a little bit slower than they did before, but I guess I can work with that. So anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Comic Show post-show will be back on Thursday, 10:15 p.m., so everybody tune in for that. I guess we have another episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. to talk about before Flash and Arrow come back the following week, and I guess this will continue to be on Saturday with the Impact stream in case I have to work, and if not, there's always a notice on my Twitter page, so follow my Twitter for updates when the show will be. I'm at the Real FK9. Also, if you want to hear my thoughts on that Gail Kim situation that I talked about, go to tnathreshold.blogspot.com, and I'll just see if I got the link right. Hang on. Okay, so tnathreshold.blogspot.com. Hit the straight shooting link on the right-hand side. And yeah, it's the third one down. Gail Kim isn't the hero, she's the villain. I think that's one of my better text columns, actually. So I talk about all that in great detail, about how the focus on Gail becomes detrimental to everything else in the division, and how Gail probably should say something to change that, but for some reason she doesn't speak up. And just not to toot my own horn here, but I think it's a really good read, so check that out. And I will speak to you guys on Thursday. So until then, follow me on Twitter @TheRealFK9, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.